The shocking discovery. The night was colder than usual on Earth's northern hemisphere. Lights flickered in the bustling city below, and the hum of distant traffic echoed through the narrow alleys. Above, a silent observer watched. Her form, shimmering faintly, almost invisible to human eyes. Kayla had never before dared to venture so close to human society. Her people, the Velari, were known for their strict rules, and contact with humans was forbidden, especially for her, a young scout from the outer colonies. Kayla's heart pounded beneath her sleek, translucent skin as she hovered in the shadowed, rooftop corner of an old apartment building. Tonight, she wasn't here just to observe. She was here to understand. For weeks, she had heard strange stories from her informants, tales of humans engaging in curious rituals, strange gatherings, filled with laughter, music, and behaviors that baffled and horrified the Velari elders. The elders had warned that human fun was chaotic, dangerous, even illegal according to their own laws. But Kayla's curiosity outweighed her fear. Peering down, she saw the scene below. A brightly lit park filled with small groups of humans. They gathered around something that looked like a large rectangular screen glowing with vibrant colors. The sounds of cheerful shouting, laughter, and strange rhythmic beats rose up to her ears. Her eyes locked onto a cluster of humans performing a strange activity, throwing discs back and forth, dashing and leaping in frantic excitement. She watched closely, trying to make sense of it. To Kayla, their movements seemed erratic and almost primitive compared to the elegant precision her species prized. Yet the humans appeared exhilarated, even joyous. Suddenly, the scene shifted. In another part of the park, she saw a smaller group huddled around what looked like metallic contraptions. The humans took turns gripping and manipulating the objects, their eyes glued to the glowing screen. They laughed harder, sometimes shouting with frustration or triumph. Kayla's alien mind raced. What was this obsession? What strange need drove humans to gather in such chaotic frenzy? According to Velari law, such behavior was reckless, even forbidden. But these humans seemed utterly addicted. Then, the horror struck. A young human boy, no older than Kayla's youngest sibling back home, tripped and fell. The group erupted into cheers, not out of concern, but excitement. Kayla's mind struggled to process the reaction. Were humans truly entertained by the pain or failure of others? Was this the fun her people spoke of? Her stomach churned. As the night deepened, Kayla continued watching. The humans engaged in various games, some involving physical challenges, others focused solely on electronic screens. They ate strange foods, some emitting smoke or bubbling oddly, and shared loud music that vibrated through the air. Each moment felt like a new revelation and a new shock. In a sudden movement, a young human woman noticed the shimmer of Kayla's cloak as she tried to remain invisible. Their eyes met for a split second. Kayla froze, heart pounding wildly. The woman blinked, startled, then laughed nervously, assuming it was a trick of the light. Kayla retreated quickly, melting into the shadows. She needed to understand more. This was no mere curiosity. This was a cultural abyss that threatened everything, she believed. How could humans find joy in such reckless chaos? Was this the real reason the Velari labeled human leisure illegal? Later that night, Kayla transmitted her first report back to the Velari elders. Her message was brief, but filled with urgency. Subject: humans' recreational behavior is beyond comprehension. What they call fun borders on madness. Immediate. Further investigation required. The reply came swiftly, cold and unyielding. Cease all interference. Human leisure is a threat to Velari order. You are warned. Do not engage beyond observation. Kayla's resolve hardened. Observation was no longer enough. She had to experience human culture firsthand, to uncover the truth behind the fear and mystery. The next day, Kayla disguised herself among the humans. She used a cloaking device to assume the appearance of a young woman, an odd but convenient form she had studied from holographic archives. Blending in was difficult. Humans' emotions were unpredictable and their language full of nuances. But she managed. She wandered into a crowded amusement center, a place bursting with lights, sounds and crowds. Humans here were laughing, screaming on rides, eating sugary treats and playing all sorts of strange games. Kayla's eyes widened as she took it all in. The air was thick with excitement, and something else she didn't understand, a restless energy. Approaching a row of what humans called arcade games, Kayla noticed groups clustered around machines with glowing screens, buttons and joysticks. The players were intensely focused, fingers dancing over controls, eyes wide with tension or delight. Kayla reached out hesitantly and touched the joystick of one machine. Immediately, images flashed before her eyes, a vivid world of combat, exploration, and quick reflexes. The player's avatar dodged enemies, scored points, and unlocked new levels. A sudden cheer erupted from the surrounding crowd as a young man achieved a new high score. Kayla's stomach twisted. Why were humans so invested in these trivial virtual battles? Why did these games bring them joy and a sense of achievement? To her, it seemed a meaningless distraction, a strange ritual of stress and release. Suddenly, a boy nearby bumped into her, apologizing with a grin. "Hey, are you new here? You look lost." Kayla nodded awkwardly. "Yes, I am. Unfamiliar with these games." The boy laughed warmly. "Don't worry, it's fun once you get the hang of it. Come on, I'll show you." As the evening wore on, Kayla allowed herself to be drawn in. The boy's enthusiasm was infectious. She tried a simple racing game, feeling a rush as she competed against the clock. Her heart rate increased, not from fear or danger, but from excitement. For the first time, Kayla tasted a fragment of human joy. But lurking beneath that joy was confusion and unease. Later, the boy took her to a different part of the center, an area called the Virtual Reality Zone. Humans donned strange helmets and goggles, immersing themselves in fully simulated worlds. Kayla hesitated, but agreed to try. As the visor settled over her eyes, the world around her vanished. She was transported to a surreal landscape, a planet with towering purple trees, glowing rivers, and creatures that shimmered with light. The experience was breathtaking, but suddenly danger appeared. A monstrous alien beast charged at her avatar. Her heart pounded. She barely escaped, gasping as she removed the visor. The boy laughed. "That's what makes it thrilling. It's like a story you live inside." Kayla smiled faintly, but her mind reeled. This fun was a mix of danger and excitement, a way humans sought adrenaline and challenge. Yet, questions lingered. What drove them? Why did they willingly expose themselves to such chaos and risk? She knew her people would call it reckless. Yet, there was something deeply human about it. Her databanks filled with conflicting emotions, curiosity, admiration, confusion, and a trace of something else, empathy. As dawn approached, Kayla slipped away from the amusement center, blending once again into the night shadows. Back at her hidden base, she recorded her thoughts. Humans' fun is chaotic, but essential to their spirit. It is a paradox, dangerous yet deeply bonding. To understand humans is to understand this contradiction. Her resolve was clear. This was just the beginning. Hidden worlds and forbidden pleasures. The city was waking slowly, pale sunlight filtering through high-rise windows, casting long shadows on cold pavement. Kayla sat silently in a small rented apartment far from the heart of the human metropolis. Her human disguise, flawless and convincing, reflected back at her from the cracked mirror. The days and nights she had spent observing humans, Mingling with them, and even participating in their strange rituals, had left her mind tangled with questions. She had tasted their joy, their excitement, but also glimpsed the darker edges of their world. Beneath the laughter and vibrant colors, there were secrets that even she, a scout from the Valari, could hardly fathom. A soft beep from her concealed communicator broke the silence. It was a message from her Valari informants. We have detected a restricted human enclave. Activities within it are deemed hazardous and forbidden by Valari decree. Exercise caution. Further investigation advised. Kayla's pulse quickened. This was more than she had bargained for, but the hunger for understanding outweighed her caution. She dressed quickly and slipped into the crowded streets. The humans around her were oblivious to her presence, absorbed in their routines, the endless dance of work, pleasure, and survival. Kayla moved toward the coordinates, her mind sharp, senses alert. The enclave was hidden deep underground, beneath layers of steel and concrete, a secret world known only to a select few humans, and now to her. The entrance was an unassuming door in an abandoned alleyway. A small keypad guarded the threshold. Kayla studied the numbers, her alien cognition processing patterns and frequencies until she found the access code through subtle, overheard conversations and careful analysis. The door hissed open, revealing a descending tunnel lit by dim red lights. A low murmur of voices echoed from below. Inside, Kayla stepped into a sprawling labyrinth of rooms, filled with humans engaged in activities far removed from the innocent amusement centers she had visited before. In one chamber, humans gathered, around tables, exchanging strange, colorful objects that glowed faintly. The air was thick with smoke and whispered excitement. Kayla watched as a young woman held a small device, inhaled deeply, and then smiled in a way that unsettled Kayla, a mixture of euphoria and escape. This is their forbidden pleasure, Kayla thought. Nearby, another room revealed humans, engaged in even more bizarre activities, virtual reality pods that induce sensations far beyond simple games, simulations that could manipulate emotions and memories. People emerged from these pods with dazed expressions, as if waking from deep dreams or nightmares. Kayla's heart tightened. Such experiences defied all Velari understanding of self-control and mental discipline. As she ventured deeper, she encountered a man speaking passionately into a small crowd. His words were fiery and inspiring. We escape the weight of this world by coming here, by sharing this, our freedom. We are alive because we choose to feel, even when it hurts. Kayla listened, fascinated. Could pain and pleasure truly coexist like this? Suddenly she felt a presence behind her. Lost, are we? A low voice whispered. Kayla turned sharply to see a tall human man with piercing eyes and a knowing smile. I'm Alex, he said. You don't look like you belong here. What brings you to the underworld? Kayla hesitated, then replied carefully, I seek to understand. Alex's smile widened. Most don't come seeking. They come to forget. He gestured toward a nearby alcove where others lounged, some with distant looks, others engaged in hushed conversations. Over the next few hours, Alex guided Kayla through the hidden worlds of human pleasure and escape. She saw the rawness of human emotion laid bare, joy mingled with pain, freedom shadowed by addiction, connection interwoven with loneliness. Kayla shared fragments of her own story, carefully edited, and Alex responded with empathy and guarded curiosity. You're not from around here, he said finally. You see things clearly, without the filter we've grown used to. Kayla nodded. My people fear what they call your illegal behaviors, but I see complexity beyond judgment. Alex's eyes shone with a mix of respect and sadness. Maybe one day people will see that too. Just then, the air shifted. Alarms blared suddenly, red lights flashing urgently. "Raid!" Alex whispered harshly. Chaos erupted as humans scrambled, hiding devices, extinguishing lights. Kyla's heart hammered. She had crossed a line. One her people had warned her not to cross. They burst through a concealed door into a narrow passage, sprinting through tunnels as distant voices shouted in alien tones. Velari enforcement units had arrived. Alex glanced at Kayla. "Come on." Together they navigated twisting corridors, the sound of pursuit growing closer. Kayla's mind raced. If caught, she would face severe punishment, maybe worse. At a fork, Alex grabbed her arm, pulling her down a barely visible side tunnel. "Trust me," he said. They emerged into an abandoned subway station. The stale air stung her lungs, but freedom felt close. Breathless, Kayla looked at Alex. "Why help me?" "Because I believe understanding is the first step to peace," he said. Kayla's gaze softened. Despite the danger, a strange warmth blossomed, but the escape was only temporary. Back at the Velari Command Center, elders convened in grave discussion. "This human infiltration endangers our secrecy," one said. "The scout must be recalled." "Or punished," another added. Yet another voice hesitated. "Perhaps this is an opportunity. The scout's observations could reshape our policies." The tension was palpable. Kayla, hidden in her safe house, wrestled with her growing emotions, fascination, fear, and a budding empathy for the chaotic humans she once viewed as inferior. Her report concluded, "Humans embody contradiction. Their pleasures are forbidden yet vital. Their chaos contains order. Their pain births connection. To understand them fully is to understand ourselves." The price of curiosity. Kayla's heart still pounded as she hid behind the rusted pipes in the dark subway station. The heavy footfalls of the Velari enforcement units echoed faintly somewhere above, their voices rough and urgent. For a moment, she closed her eyes, letting herself breathe, the rawness of her close escape washing over her like a tidal wave. Her human skin felt clammy. The warmth she'd begun to feel for Alex was now laced with the sharp edge of fear. Alex crouched beside her, catching his breath, his gaze scanning the shadows. "They won't give up so easily," he muttered. "You're not just another lost tourist. They want to silence you." Kayla swallowed hard. His words felt like a prophecy. The Velari were precise, relentless. She could feel their pursuit reaching deeper into human territory. If caught, the consequences would be severe. And not just for her, but possibly for the humans she had come to care about. "You need to leave," Alex said, voice urgent but gentle. "Stay away from these tunnels and hidden worlds. The Velari won't stop." Kayla shook her head, her resolve hardening. "I came here to understand, not to run away." Alex's eyes softened, but his warning was clear. "Understanding can be costly." She nodded silently. The price of curiosity, she realized, might be higher than she had ever imagined. Back in her apartment, Kayla pored over her data logs, the glow of holographic screens painting her face in ghostly blues. She had catalogued human behaviors, their paradoxes, their forbidden joys. Each file was a thread, unraveling a tapestry of complexity she had never expected. And yet, her mind was restless. What had she truly come here to find? A few days later, a message arrived on her encrypted communicator, a directive from the Velari Council. Immediate recall. Cease contact with humans. Report to command for debriefing. The order was unequivocal. Kayla hesitated, staring at the command. She was torn. Loyalty to her people or loyalty to the truth she was uncovering. She decided on one last meeting with Alex. The rendezvous was at a quiet rooftop garden, hidden above the city's relentless pulse. Alex waited, arms crossed, the night wind tousling his dark hair. "You shouldn't be here," he said, wary. Kayla met his gaze. "I have to tell you something. The Valari want me back. They're afraid of what I've learned. Alex's eyes darkened. You're a danger to them now. I am. But I'm also a danger to myself if I go back without answers. They stood in silence, the city lights flickering like distant stars. Alex finally said, "You know humans are flawed. We hurt, we crave, we destroy, but there's a fire in us, a will to live and connect that's hard to explain." Kayla nodded slowly. "I feel it too. It's why I can't leave this story half-told." Suddenly, a sound. A low hum, growing. Louder. Both looked up. Hovering drones, Valari scouts scanned the sky, their searchlights piercing the darkness. "We need to move. Now," Alex whispered. What followed was a desperate flight through labyrinthine streets, shadows merging and shifting as they darted through alleys, underground passages and forgotten corridors. Kayla's mind raced, adrenaline sharpening her. "Senses, how do you survive here?" she asked breathlessly. Alex smiled wryly. "You learn to trust those who don't ask questions, and you keep moving." They ducked into an old theater, its grandeur faded, now a refuge for those hiding from the world. Inside, a group of humans greeted Alex with wary nods. "Friends?" Kayla asked. Alex hesitated, then said, "Survivors, people who live outside. The law. Not because they want to, but because they have no choice." Kayla's eyes scanned the faces, weary, defiant, and somehow hopeful. That night, as they shared stories and silence, Kayla felt the weight of her mission pressed down harder. The humans were tangled in their own struggles. Addiction, loss, rebellion, yet there was a profound humanity in their flaws. Days passed in a blur of secret meetings and narrow escapes. Kayla's reports back to the Valari grew conflicted. She spoke of human resilience, of forbidden pleasures that were coping mechanisms, of societies fractured yet fiercely alive. But the Valari Council was divided. Some saw her findings as a threat to their rigid order. Others saw a fragile bridge to understanding. Then came the breaking point. Kayla was summoned to the Valari command ship orbiting Earth. The chamber was cold, sterile. Elder Vresh, a figure of stern authority, addressed her. "Your infiltration has revealed disturbing truths, yet your sympathies endanger our secrecy." Kayla met his gaze steadily. "Truth cannot be ignored. Humans are not just primitive. They are survivors, shaped by complexity." Vresh's voice hardened. "You risk contamination. Your loyalty is questioned." Kayla swallowed, but stood firm. "I seek only to understand, to build a path where none existed." A tense silence filled the room. Finally, Vresh said, "You have one last mission. Return to Earth. Find the source of this underground resistance. Report it fully. Then you will decide where your loyalty lies." Back on Earth, Kayla's mission became a hunt. She followed leads, tracked secret communications, and delved into the heart of the human underworld. What she found was a network, a coalition of outcasts, dreamers, rebels, and those desperate for change. They called themselves the Veil. The Veil's leader, a charismatic woman named Mara, welcomed Kayla with cautious respect. "You're different," Mara said. "Not just a spy." Kayla nodded. "I'm looking for truth." Mara's eyes flickered. "Truth is dangerous. It can liberate or destroy." Over days, Kayla immersed herself in the Veil's world. She saw their hopes, a future beyond surveillance and control. She saw their fears, that both humans and Valari might crush their fragile dreams. One night, Mara confided, "We survive by staying hidden, but there are those among us who want to fight." Kayla's mind raced. A rebellion was brewing, one that could shatter fragile peace. As tensions mounted, Kayla realized her place was no longer as an observer. Her heart pulled her toward the humans she had come to respect and care for. Her loyalty to the Valari was shaken, but the consequences of betrayal loomed large. She knew the path ahead was fraught with danger, but also possibility. Between two worlds, the chill of the underground shelter seeped through Kayla's clothes as she sat across from Mara, the leader of the Veil. The low hum of machinery and distant echoes of footsteps created a rhythm both ominous and oddly comforting. Here, in this hidden sanctuary beneath the city's chaos, Kayla felt the fragile pulse of rebellion, a living thing that might either bring salvation or doom. Mara's eyes never left Kayla's face. "You don't belong to us, and you don't belong to them anymore, do you?" Kayla shook her head slowly. "No, I'm caught between two worlds." Mara leaned forward, her voice dropping to a whisper. "That's where true power lies, in the space between." Kayla pondered this as the memories of her mission and the warmth she had found among humans flooded her mind. The complexity, the chaos, the beauty, all intertwined in a delicate dance she had only just begun to understand. Days later, Kayla stood on a rain-slicked rooftop. The city sprawled beneath her like a living organism. The skyline flickered with neon signs and distant fires. Somewhere in the labyrinth below, the Veil prepared for a movement that could change everything. She was scheduled to meet with a Valari envoy, a secret envoy who, like her, might believe in a different future. The envoy arrived on time, stepping out of the shadows with cautious grace. His name was Rylan, younger than Kayla expected, but with eyes that carried the weight of harsh truths. "Kayla," he greeted, voice low. "We don't have much time." "Then let's not waste it," she replied. Rylan's mission was clear, to negotiate a ceasefire between the Valari command and the Veil's growing forces. The stakes were enormous. Failure meant all-out war. "Why involve me?" Kayla asked. "Because you understand both sides, because you are a bridge." Their negotiations took place in secret, between tense words and veiled threats. Kayla acted as mediator, her mind racing to balance trust and caution. The Veil demanded autonomy, freedom from surveillance, and an end to the Valari's oppressive control. The Valari command insisted on security, secrecy, and continued oversight, fearing that any loosening of control would bring chaos. "Humans are unpredictable," Rylan warned. "They feel deeply, but they are flawed," Kayla countered. "So are we." The conversation faltered, but a fragile understanding began to emerge. Meanwhile, the human city simmered with unrest. The Veil's influence spread through underground networks, whispered meetings, and acts of defiance. Flyers with cryptic messages appeared overnight, and graffiti bloomed like wildflowers in the darkest alleys. Kayla joined in the clandestine meetings, feeling the raw energy of a people desperate for change. Among the rebels, she found stories of heartbreak, loss, hope, and courage. One evening, a young woman named Lila approached her. "Why do you care?" Lila asked, eyes bright with suspicion and longing. "Because I've seen what happens when one side wins without understanding the other," Kayla replied. "I want to help build a future where no one has to hide." Lila nodded, and for the first time, Kayla felt the fragile bonds of trust forming between them. But the peace was fragile. One night, a Valari strike team raided a Veil safe house. Alarms blared, and chaos erupted. Kayla barely escaped with Alex and Mara, sprinting through tunnels she had come to know like the back of her hand. Breathless and shaken, they found refuge in an abandoned subway car. "We're running out of time," Mara said, voice grim. "They're tightening the noose." Alex looked at Kayla, concern etched across his face. "What do we do now?" Kayla's mind spun with possibilities. Betrayal, hope, survival. Then a spark of resolve ignited within her. "We take the fight to them." The plan was risky, to infiltrate the Valari command ship orbiting Earth and broadcast a message of truth and unity to both Valari and humans. Kayla knew the risks: capture, torture, death, but she also knew the stakes. She couldn't stand by while the cycle of fear and violence continued. With the help of the Veil and a small group of trusted allies, Kayla prepared for the impossible. As the night of the mission arrived, Kayla felt a strange calm. She stood on the rooftop, looking up at the stars scattered like distant promises. "This is for both our worlds," she whispered. The journey to the command ship was a blur of stealth and tension. Inside the cold metal corridors, Kayla's heart pounded as she bypassed security and reached the communication hub. Her fingers flew over the controls, sending the message, a plea for peace, an appeal to shared humanity and shared fate. For a moment, the ship was silent. Then, the broadcast began. Voices across the galaxy heard her words, not as propaganda but as truth. "I am Kayla of the Valari, but more than that, I am a witness to both our worlds. Fear divides us, but understanding can unite us. We are stronger. Together, it is time to end the cycle of secrecy and control. It is time for a new dawn." Suddenly, alarms blared. Valari guards stormed the hub. Kayla fought, her resolve fierce, but it wasn't enough. She was captured. In the stark interrogation chamber, Elder Vresh stood before her, eyes cold. "You betrayed your people." Kayla met, his gaze without fear. "I betrayed silence for truth." Vresh's lips curled into a bitter smile. "And what of loyalty?" Kayla whispered. "Loyalty to truth is the only loyalty worth having." Outside the chamber, the city below erupted. The broadcast had ignited hope and fury. The Veil surged, inspired and emboldened. And somewhere, deep inside, Kayla knew the world was changing. Forever. Flames of revolution, the sterile light of the interrogation chamber flickered as Kayla stood, chained to the cold metal floor. Her wrists ached, but her spirit was unbroken. Elder Vresh paced before her like a predator, sizing up its prey, his expression hard as granite. "You have caused unrest, chaos even, with your broadcast. You've put your own people and the humans at risk," Vresh said. Why throw away everything for a fragile hope?" Kayla lifted her chin, steady as ever. "Because silence kills, because fear kills, because we can choose a better way, one where trust replaces control." Vresh sneered. "Idealism is a luxury for the naive. The galaxy is ruled by strength, not dreams." Kayla's voice grew firm. "Then maybe it's time for the dreams to become strength." Vresh's hand struck the table, rattling the chamber. "You will regret this." Outside the chamber, the Valari command ship buzzed with tension. Security protocols had tightened, and patrols doubled. But Kayla's message had already spread, sparking flames in hearts across two worlds. Below Earth's surface, the Veil's forces rallied, swelling in numbers and courage. Lila, now a fierce leader among the rebels, directed operations with fiery resolve. "We can't let Kayla's sacrifice be in vain," she told her team. "We fight for a future where no one is hunted for hope." Alex stood beside her, scanning incoming reports. "Valari reinforcements are arriving soon. This escalates quickly." "Then we must move faster," Lila replied, eyes blazing. Back on the ship, Kayla endured interrogation and isolation. Days blurred together, her only comfort the quiet hum of the ship and the distant stars beyond the viewport. But her resolve did not waver. She found strength in memories of Mara's courage, Alex's loyalty, and the faces of the humans who had risked everything for change. One night, her isolation was broken. The door slid open and Rilan stepped inside, his expression unreadable. "You are a stubborn one," he said softly. Kayla studied him. "You came to free me?" Rilan shook his head. "Not yet. I came to talk." They spoke in low voices, shadows. flickering around them. "You believe in peace," Relan said. "I was sent to stop you, but now I don't know." Kayla's eyes searched his. "Then help me. Help us end this cycle." Relan hesitated, then nodded slowly. "There's a way. A hidden code. A vulnerability in the ship's defenses. But it's risky." Kayla smiled faintly. "I've never been afraid of risk." Meanwhile, the Veil launched coordinated strikes against Velari facilities worldwide. Explosions rocked cities, sirens wailed, and fear turned to fury. The humans fought with desperate hope, wielding whatever they could, technology scavenged, sheer willpower, and Kayla's message burning in their hearts. Lila led a squad deep into a Velari command center beneath the city. They faced heavily armed guards, but their determination was unshakable. "Remember why we fight!" Lila shouted over the gunfire. Step by step, they advanced, disabling communications and freeing captives. On the ship, Kyler and Rilan executed their plan. Using the secret code, they bypassed security systems, opening access points to the ship's core. But their success came at a price. Alarms screamed as Velari guards closed in. Rilan was hit, collapsing as Kyler dragged him toward the escape pods. "Go!" he gasped. "Finish this!" Kayla hesitated, then kissed his forehead. "You saved more than me." Kayla launched the escape pod, hurtling toward Earth as the ship exploded behind her in a blaze of fire. She landed hard near the Veil's stronghold, breathless but alive. The battle raged on. She joined Lila and Alex, their faces grim but fierce. "Kayla!" Alex exclaimed. "We thought you were lost." "No time for that," she said. "We have to end this." In the city square, a massive crowd had gathered, voices rising in unison. Humans and Velari defectors stood side by side, united by Kayla's message. Eldavresh appeared on a raised platform, his presence commanding silence. He addressed the crowd, his voice echoing with authority and menace. "This rebellion is treason. We will crush it." But before he could finish, Kayla stepped forward, voice strong and clear. "No, it's a beginning." Her words cut through the tension like a knife. The crowd erupted in cheers, hope flooding the air. The final confrontation unfolded. Not with weapons, but with words, choices, and courage. Velari soldiers lowered their weapons, inspired by Kayla's vision. Eldavresh, isolated and defeated, retreated into the shadows. Kayla stood at the center of a new dawn. The journey was far from over. Bridges had to be built, wounds healed, and trust earned. But Kayla knew one truth: the future belonged to those brave enough to believe in it. And for the first time, the stars seemed closer, shining with the promise of unity. Dawn of unity. The first light of dawn painted the horizon in gentle hues of amber and rose. The city that had once been a battlefield now hummed with cautious hope. Streets once torn by conflict were slowly filling with people, humans and Velari alike, working side by side to rebuild what had been broken. Kayla stood at the center of the plaza, the place where just days ago an epic confrontation had unfolded. The crowd had gathered again, this time not as adversaries but as allies. Faces from both worlds looked toward her, eyes filled with anticipation, fear, and above all, hope. She took a deep breath. The weight of everything they had endured pressed upon her, but so did a newfound strength. The path to peace had been paved with sacrifice, betrayal, courage, and unyielding faith. "Today," Kayla began, her voice steady yet warm, "we do not stand here as Velari or humans, but as one people, united by a dream that was once impossible." The crowd fell silent, hanging on her every word. For too long, fear and misunderstanding have ruled our worlds. But no longer. We have learned that the greatest power is not in domination or fear. It is in empathy, trust, and cooperation. Murmurs of agreement rippled through the crowd. Alex stood beside her, eyes shining with pride and determination. Lila, scarred but unbowed, gave a small nod of approval. In the days that followed, the true work began. The scars of war ran deep, both in cities and in hearts. Former soldiers, once enemies, found themselves working side by side in reconstruction efforts. Humans taught Velari about their technology and culture, while Velari shared ancient knowledge and wisdom. Kayla and her allies faced opposition, of course. Eldavresh had not vanished entirely. Some among the Velari elite saw unity as weakness, plotting in shadows to reclaim their lost dominance. But the spirit of change was stronger than any conspiracy. One evening, as Kayla walked through a rebuilt garden, Relan approached her quietly. Though healed, his wounds were a reminder of the cost they had paid. "You've changed everything," he said softly. "No," Kayla replied. "We changed it together." They looked out over the horizon, where two suns set side by side, a symbol of their new shared world. However, healing was not simple. Trust had to be rebuilt from the ground up. There were moments of fear, mistrust, and temptation to return to old ways. One day, during a council meeting, a human delegate voiced concerns. "How can we be sure the Velari won't turn against us again? What if this peace is just temporary?" Kayla answered, "Trust is not given. It is earned, and it grows with every act of kindness, every shared hardship, every decision to choose understanding over fear." She paused, looking around the room. "We all carry the power to break cycles of hatred or to strengthen them. The future depends on which path we choose." Weeks turned to months. A new society took root, one that blended the best of both worlds. Children learned both Velari history and human stories. Music, art, and science flourished like never before. Kayla found herself teaching young students, sharing tales of courage and hope. One curious child asked, "Teacher Kayla, why did you risk everything to believe in us?" Kayla smiled, memories flooding back. "Because I saw the light inside humanity, not just the flaws, but the endless capacity for love and change. Sometimes hope is the greatest rebellion, but peace required vigilance." Intelligence reports indicated Eldavresh's loyalists were attempting to destabilize fragile alliances through sabotage. Kayla convened a special task force. "We cannot let fear divide us again," she said. "We face threats, yes, but we will face them together, with courage and compassion." The climax came when a group of extremists attacked a diplomatic summit. Explosions shattered windows, panic swept the room. But the response was swift. Humans and Velari security forces worked in seamless coordination, protecting leaders and civilians alike. Kayla, leading from the front, helped evacuate the injured, her heart pounding but steady. When the dust settled, the attackers were captured. The attack had failed. Unity had prevailed. In the aftermath, Kayla addressed the people once more. "Violence and hatred will always try to find a way," she said. "But it is our choice to build walls or bridges. We choose bridges." Her words resonated deeply, a reminder that peace was not the absence of conflict, but the presence of justice, understanding, and vigilance. As the sun rose higher, Kayla stood on the balcony of the new Unity Council Hall, looking out over the city, a place reborn from ashes. Beside her, Alex took her hand. "You gave us all a future worth fighting for." Kayla smiled, tears in her eyes. "No, we gave it to each other." The lesson, the story of Kayla and the humans, is more than science fiction. It is a mirror held up to our own world, a reminder that even in the darkest times, hope can spark a revolution. That peace requires not only courage, but empathy, patience, and unyielding faith in the potential for change. It reminds us that unity is not the absence of difference, but the harmony that can arise from it. And it warns us that the hardest battles are often fought within, between fear and trust, between division and connection. In the end, the stars shine brightest when we dare to reach for each other, beyond species, beyond history, beyond fear. The end.